right. I also have to collect myself a little after that ending. It's just magical. I didn't see her when she came in. Is Juliana and Mel here from BJ's Mobile Gift Shop? If you are, please come on up. She was supposed to be here, but I don't know if she's here. It doesn't look like she is. Is anybody from BJ's Mobile Gift Shop here? It's a very Chicago movie. I thought maybe somebody would show. Okay. All right. Well, the other guest we have here is the writer and director and star of the film we just watched. Please welcome Abby Pierce from Go Ahead, Grab Time by the Throat. Oh my God.
Hi.
I've waited 1.5 years for this.
Oh, I haven't seen that movie in a really long time.
Oh man, there are so many ways to start this Q&A. I'm not really sure where to enter, but I also feel like Claire Cooney did a lot of the Q&A for me at the end of the film, because we have questions. She's asking you all the questions that I have.
Yeah.
But how did all this footage that you filmed, because this is, for people who might be wondering, was that all real? Was some of that documentary? Was it, I mean, it's real.
It's real.
And how did it come to be formed and shaped into this film?
I think at that period of time, I had started 1 Second Every Day, which is an app, and you can just take a video, and for some reason at that period of time, I was documenting a lot. And so I was already in the habit of it. So I think it was a very confusing, I mean, breakups are generally confusing, and that one was particularly confusing for me. And I had just, I don't know, it was impulsively just documenting, and I had the video, and all those videos, and then I was compulsively watching them, as we might after breakups. And so, yeah, it was something about just understanding it and also trying to explain it to other people of like what the engagement breakup thing was. And then by the time I just showed it to my parents, and they were like, I think I get it. And I was like, okay, I think I get it, and I don't think I got it. I think I'm starting to get it now that I'm watching it years later, but.
I was gonna ask, what is your perception of this film, this experience, this project? Like, how has it changed since, now that you've had a little distance from it,
Yeah.
and you're seeing it for the first time in a long, long time?
Yeah.
It's gotta be...
It was weird to watch that right now, I'm not gonna lie. It's also the first time that I've watched it with strangers, because, I was laughing, I was like, oh, if I knew what I meant when I said that I don't want to know what I'm doing September of 2 years from now, but James didn't know either, apparently, even if he wanted to. We're so good friends, and watching it now, I think I understand a little bit more what I was trying to do. In the moment, I was trying to just make things exactly as they were, to just, I think when we have a moment of chaos in our lives, or in general, human beings tend to tell stories, and so that's what I was doing. Now, I teach improvisation in trauma-informed communities. So for the past 8 or 9 years, I've been teaching foster kids and in jails, and I teach at Cook County Jail and Rikers Island in New York and juvies, and that's all to say that what I teach isn't really improvisation, it's frictionless transformation through play, and that's what I was really starting to see in my past self, what I was doing, which was I was trying to transform as a person and trying to transform in that moment and trying to transform a relationship, and I didn't know how, so we played. We did a play engagement. That's what we were doing. It was a little play for ourselves to get out of it, and a little ceremony. And then, and just cause healing from there, hope for healing from there.
And I think that really comes through. I mean, just the key phrase there, you said transformation through play.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it feels watching this movie. Because the movie itself is very playful in terms of the form and how we shift from documentary to reenactment. And you feel something therapeutic happening when you're watching this. And I think that's why I'm so taken by it, or one of the reasons I'm so taken by it is just, I haven't had that experience very often when watching a film, either a short or a feature.
Thank you.
And has he seen the film?
So James,
And what's his reaction?
yeah, it took him a while. Actually, his mom and his sister watched it before him.
Oh no.
I think maybe even like a girlfriend of his watched it before him. But then he finally got around to it. That's weird. I know, we're friends. All that was done with his consent. He was actually acting in it, so he knew what was going on. He had, I don't know why, he said it on my way out. Maybe I would never have made the movie except on the way out the door. He was like, if there's anything that you want to use for a project of yours, you can, which is like a generous act. But at the moment I was like, okay, and I don't think he knew what I meant or what that meant, would end up meaning. But he's seen it, and yeah, and he really appreciates it, and he understands for what it is, and yeah. And then I think like afterwards, you know, I dated a guy, and he was like, "Don't put me in any of your movies."
Because here we all are.
Yeah.
Was there ever a question or worry about revealing too much? Like, did you find you had to pull back a little bit at any point?
I was going. At that time, I think we made this like a month and a half after the breakup, and it wasn't until I was on set, and it was like Claire and I had this idea to make it. I mean, the conversation, everything was pretty real. There were people having sex in the parking lot with my parents while we were unpacking the car. Like
that was real. Like that was not
real.
documentary.
No, sorry. That was a real experience that happened. Then we refilmed it because I was like, this happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what we're watching is reenactment, but that actually did happen.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Of something that really happened. Yeah. Wait. Now I lost my train of thought. Oh. Yeah. It was just the idea of like I was on set, and then suddenly I was like, why did I opt into the most terrible Groundhog's Day ever? And I had to like go in. Like a room. I was so lucky to co-direct with Claire because I was like, Claire, come get me when I need to come out because I feel insane right now. I shouldn't have done this. You know, there was like people like playing my parents, and I'm like unpacking my stuff in my old apartment with my recent ex to like repack it up and like say goodbye, and I was like, ugh. So I don't think I knew what I was doing in the moment, and now I'm watching it and I was like, you really got vulnerable there. You even put a naked shot in there? Like, what the heck? But yeah, I don't know.
I just love how the film is sort of like, I don't know, a snake eating its tail. I'm not sure if that's the right metaphor or not. But we're watching characters watching their phones of footage you filmed with your phone. And at the end, some viewers, may be asking themselves, like, what was real? What was it all act? So what went into the idea of the final moment when you pan to the camera crew, filming you, watching you watch what you just filmed on your phone? It's just like, there's so many layers to this.
Yeah, it's quite meta, and I wish I was a little bit more articulate about that. But I think that there's just a sense of, like, I was really, really curious at that period of time why I was posting, like making a 1 second every day. And then I would start going like, why am I like posting on social media? Why does anyone post on social media? What are we trying to grab? What are we trying to capture? What is this thing? Should we not ask these questions, or should we? And so finally I was like, whatever. This whole thing is basically as close to the reality as I can get it, including the fact that we're making a movie. So let's just be honest about it. Claire and I are making this thing, and we don't know what we're doing, and we don't know what it's for, and I'm just gonna try and explain it, and just honestly, it just tries to be as radically and ridiculously honest as possible, and just bring everyone in on it. It's like a diary entry,
Mm-hmm. I want to open up to questions from the audience. Normally we would have a microphone here for you to walk up and ask a question, but we're having technical difficulties this weekend. So if you have a question, please raise your hand, and I will try my best to see you through this light. Oh yeah, I can see you all. Claire was supposed to join us. At the last minute, she had to cancel. She got an acting gig in LA.
She's too famous.
You don't turn that down. I mean, no love lost.
Gotta get paid.
But she was here a few years ago with her short film Runner, which is amazing, and it won our audience award that year. How was she? I mean, you guys, you co-directed this, and she has told me that it's more your brainchild than hers, and but I'm just wondering, like, how much guidance did she give you through the editing or through the process of creating and shaping this thing?
Yeah, so I did a lot of the prep work as far as like the shot lists and figuring out the locations and all that stuff, and then she was totally the one in charge on the day of shooting. Thank God, she was. I couldn't have done both. I did both before for a different short film where I directed and acted, and this one particularly I couldn't handle both. But yeah, so but then she did the first round of editing. So she did the majority of the editing, and we would go back and forth with notes, and then we kind of, yeah, we were just in constant note session. But at that period of time, I mean, right after we shot this movie, she moved to Los Angeles and I moved to New York, like right away, to go spread our magic everywhere. I don't know.
Do we have any questions from the audience?
Over here.
Oh. Over, yes, back there, yes.
All right, thanks. Yeah, I just have a question. In that, like, did you have a thought of like expanding this particular scope? Because it seems to me that like all the interactions, even on it's filmed, it seems like friends or family, and yet so much of like the world today is about like you post all these feelings and these memories into a whole social network where all sorts of strangers can react to it.
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I mean, I definitely think that there's things to mine. There was a period of time where I think there's so many things to look at about why we post and how we communicate and how we tell stories and how we develop our own narrative, and then within our small sphere of maybe like our social influence, and then also maybe an artistic sphere. And it's also weird to me. I mean, I enjoyed the process of asking that question to myself. And I do think that there is a lot to explore there. With the other boyfriend that I'm no longer with that told me not to put him in a movie, I did start shooting the feature version of this. I didn't finish that because I lost interest in looking at myself as a subject, to be completely frank. Maybe I'll pick up. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe Grab Time starts from 2019 and ends up like on my third child. Like, I don't know. Like, maybe I can revisit it at any time. So as far as the scope of like looking at something and using myself as a subject, that comes in and out of my interest of that scope. But I think thematically, yeah, there's a lot to look at for sure.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else? Yes.
Hi, thank you for the movie. I was just wondering, can you explain the title?
Oh, go ahead, grab time by the throat. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's long. I think that it was, what I liked about it, the reason why I named it that was because I needed permission to like do it. That go ahead to me is like a permissive thing, and to not just to myself but to anyone, you know, because I mean really like I was just walking around being vulnerable, and the cool thing about this too is like if any of you guys want to tell me about your breakups, I'm fascinated. People watch that and then they tell me about them and I'm like, I love it. But then the grab time by the throat thing, I think I felt a certain amount of like weirdness or shame or whatever just filming myself in these situations and then making a movie about myself, and I was just like, screw it. Go ahead. What do you want to do? You want to just try and hold on to this as a product? You want to hold on to an emotional experience or a personal transformation as a product and make it into one? Okay, do it. Well, we'll call it grab time by the throat because it's just a piece of time, you know? So that's where the title comes from. Yeah.
Any other questions? Yes.
That's really smart. I love that question. is there an element of me giving permission to her and her giving permission to myself, or we're exchanging permission? I think that's true. I mean, at that particular period of time, Claire was an amalgamation of like 6 of my female friends that were all breaking up at the exact same period of time, and I was having that conversation so many times. And I do think that there's a sense of like, what we both needed from each other was a permission of doing it and not being horribly sad about it, and also doing it, and I felt a certain way at a certain period of the breakup, and she felt a certain way in a certain period of the breakup, and being like, it's okay. We can be here for each other and communicating in different ways, and feel differently about the stages of these breakups or what that relationship was. So I do think that there's a permission of just being like, you're good, you're awesome, and that feels good to say in here, you know? And yeah, I was having a lot of those pump up conversations at that period of time, because it's hard to do a brave thing. It's hard to do a brave thing, and a brave thing is usually the thing that feels wildly, wildly uncomfortable.
All right, any last questions from the audience? Yeah, my mom.
Hi, that's nice.
As a mom, I love the scene with the parents. What made you put that part in?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Did you ask more about what made me put my parents in there? Well, what made me put my parents in there was the fact that they were the people that caught me right at that moment. I mean, that was the day of the breakup. We broke up, got engaged thing. I came home, had that conversation with them. They helped me unpack, and then they took me in. And a lot of the reason why I made this, I thought to even make it a movie or something, was because I was trying to explain to them over and over and over again what happened with me and James, because it didn't make sense to anyone, especially them, because they were like, we love him, are you okay? Is he really gone? And then I showed them the video, and that's when they kind of got it. And I think there's some sort of the fact that they were so fundamental to catching me at that period of time, and then they had a sense of bravery and a generous spirit at that period of time too, to just like meet me where I was at, even though they love James, but it's okay, and you can move in, and you're gonna move to New York, and okay, like have a glass of wine then, I don't know. So I think I really just appreciated them as people and characters, and I wanted to include them in that.
Were they really eating hot dogs and watching the workout channel? I just love that touch.
That was actually pulled from, there's this playwright named Beth Henley.
Oh yeah.
And she was a professor of mine, and I actually, over 15 years ago or so, walked in on her eating a hot dog and watching a workout video, and I went, I'm gonna clock that and put that back there, and it showed up very, very much later, but yeah.
Nice. You knew Beth Henley? Oh my God, that's
Yeah,
awesome. True Stories is one of my all-time favorite movies, and she's one of the co-writers of that.
Yeah,
so that's
absolutely.
awesome. Okay, well, we'll be in the lobby and around the lounge. If you have any questions you want to ask her, please make sure you fill out tell us which films you like the most by taking your ballot and just ripping through the title or circling it with a pen or whatever, and put it in our blue ballot box at our table on your way out. Abby, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah,
this is such a treat to have you here and to have this film,
It was
and
an honor.
it was worth the wait.
Oh.
Anyway, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you guys.